So here's my current debate on this rifle. Like the next I've got the next quite a bit of money that I'm going to spend on this thing already pegged down. And let me run through what we've got right now. What we've got right now is a Bear Creek upper on a KE Arms lower with a set of Chris Vector backup iron sights, a Hollow Sun red dot, a Magpul vertical grip, and two Magpul rail sections, and spray paint. Um, in the immediate future, this is getting a Manta tack wrap. It's getting a what's it called? Enforce light with a front sight post ring on it to replace the front sight on it and give it a light at the same time. And then I'm going to get a muzzle brake, I think, because I want something different on it, basically. And I found one I like for 45 bucks. But once all that's done, the question becomes, are we going to have a 20-inch barrel, a 16-inch barrel, and are we going to have a bayonet or not? And basically, if you have the 20-inch barrel, the bayonet is stupid because the bayonet that I want to get is the Geisley bayonet mount for the rail. And if you have a 20-inch barrel, the bayonet is still mounted on the rail. Like you just have a sharp underside of your gun. I want a stabbing thing. So if we could do the bayonet, it necessitates a 16-inch barrel in my mind. However, I think the 20-inch has decided advantages, especially if I already have a 16-inch gun, which I do. I could definitely see the idea of having a 20-inch, especially given a lot of the unknowns of our future involve range and body armor. And basically, I'm building a fighting rifle for the future now. That's what this gun is. I'm calling it my Space Marine Blaster or whatever because, like, I'm having fun. But this is a pretty fucking serious gun at the end of the day. Optic-wise, I think I'm going to stick with the Hollow Sun I have. I'd like to get some fancy new shit, but I'm not going to have money to do it. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to get the Vortex 3x micro magnifier because I think that's pretty bitchin' and will give this thing options. And barrel-wise, I'm going with a Faxon Gunner barrel of some sort, either the 16-inch or the 20-inch. And I've kind of done a video about this a couple times already, but like I was kind of high and we wandered. I really don't know which is the right route to go. I guess it depends on, are we going to be shooting a lot or are we going to be running out of ammunition a lot? Running out of ammunition a lot, I'd much rather have the bayonet, right? Because at least you have something. And honestly, that's the future that I see. That's why I have a bayonet. Making it 20 inches does make it less good at CQB. 16-inch has most of the advantages of a 20 as far as ballistics go. I could do an 18. That would be the compromise. I don't know how much blade that would give me, though. But doing the 20-inch with a compensator and then having that bayonet makes no fucking sense whatsoever to me. Now, there is the thought that this thing being a long-ass pike with the muzzle device I'm going to have on it, it kind of doesn't need a bayonet. This is true. But at the same time, my gear has an M7 bayonet already duct taped into it, basically. So, I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me to get that ALG bayonet mount. Not to mention the fact that this gun is a direct response to Carl and Ian's What Would Stoner Do gun. And to be honest, I would like to make it a 20-inch and put a bayonet lug on it. Because in reality, I think that we did a fucking disservice going away from 20-inch. I think we did an even bigger disservice going to fucking 10.5s or whatever the fuck it is SOCOM's running now. And we could argue that a little bit, but basically, if you're gonna run an AR-15 with a short barrel, I wouldn't go past 11.5. I really wouldn't go past 14.5. There's a reason why you don't. The gun becomes less effective. And this is my thing: is I don't have a 308, so why not have a fucking 5.56? It's at least as effective as we can make it, and that means a longer barrel. And in reality, like, this gun should have the scope then, right? But I think it's kind of cool to have the fucking red dot on the long barrel gun. Because in reality, like, the other one is kind of a shit hits the fan survival hunting rifle carbine thing. It's its own kind of philosophy of use, or whatever you want to say, if you like nothing fancy. This thing is, we're going into combat. And as such, I think it needs a bayonet. It's going to get a few other things for sure. The front sight post ring light thing, I don't know. I think it looks sci-fi, and it does a lot of things that I like for a really low amount of weight. So we're going to try it. The Manta tack wrap I've used on 3 or 4 different guns now. I like that thing quite a bit. If you haven't played with the Manta tack wrap, I'd go get one. As far as the rest of the internals of the gun, we're going to upgrade those too. Like I said, the barrel, I'm going to get a Faxon. The bolt carrier group, I don't know what I'm going to get, but I'm going to replace it eventually. And the trigger group, I'm going to get something high-end, like a Geisley or something. I like the idea of getting a Geisley for this thing. I think that probably is the way I'm going to go. I don't know which one I would get. I want something that's... Honestly, the trigger that they make that I like is the ALG ACT. But I think I want something a little more Space Marine looking for this. So like a super dynamic 3-gun would be pretty badass in this thing. Set it up as like a light support rifle. Made it get to where it's supposed to shoot fast with a 20-inch barrel. Get drum mags. Party all night. I think that's the way to make this the most effective, though, really, is 20-inch barrel. I don't know. I go back and forth on that. The Geisley trigger, they make enough ones that have that kind of cool, flat-looking, angular shit going on that it would look cool on this rifle. And in case you haven't gotten it, everything I'm doing right now, I'm doing for looks. The fucking Palmetto State Armory upper on the fucking KE Arms lower is good enough for combat. Flat out. I'm doing this because I'm meditating on the sword, and I'm sitting here looking at this thing, and it is my second gun. And I guess it's becoming my first gun, which really makes sense, because like the other one is really, like I said, a survival hunting carbine kind of a thing. It's got a 2-7 scope on it, and iron sights, and a bayonet lug, and it's set up with all that shit on purpose. Because the thought is basically that in most situations in the end of the world, you're going to need like 2-7, 3-9 kind of optic to at least scout ahead or whatever. And then you want a lightweight gun. And then you need something pretty bare bones basic that's not going to fail on you. And an M16 with iron sights is that. And having a scope that will work until it doesn't work anymore and then you can ditch it is, good. And it's a 1-inch mount, so whenever you encounter more scopes in your future, you can save the fucking trashed out scope and get a new scope. Like, that gun is made with surviving the apocalypse in mind. This gun's made with fighting the Chinese in mind. That's no shit. I really think that, like, Mexico is going to become an increasing problem for us. China's not going to let us sit high on the hog over here while we fuck with them in Taiwan. And Russia feels the same way basically about Ukraine. So the thing that I would do if I were them would be to buddy up to the cartel and to start funding the cartel to overthrow the Mexican government, which basically they already run the Mexican government. But once they do that, then they have their own fucking state on our southern border that they can just do whatever the fuck they want. And this is why war is coming to our southern border rapidly. So this is the Moon Tiger rifles for really fighting the Chinese in Mexico. I know that sounds crazy as fuck. I am kind of crazy as fuck. But we've done it before. We're going to do it again. I'm starting to think more and more that the path forward for many of us, if we would like a path forward, is going to be fighting the Chinese in Mexico without the blessing of the United States. That's going to be rough. The Mormons are already down there, though, and that's good for us. I really think that if China starts fucking with Mexico like this, it opens the door for me to start talking out loudly a little bit more about my plans for Texas too and all that shit. Like, legitimately, if Mexico becomes an enemy, I think we should go down there, take it over, kill them all, and fucking fly a Texas flag. You want to keep fucking with us? You want to flood our streets with drugs? You want to flood our streets with illegal immigrants? You want to take all our fucking jobs? Moon Tiger's gonna fucking come for you. That's how I feel. Can't be the only one that feels that fucking way. Like, apparently Mexico is such a shitty place to live that everyone wants to come here. I seem to think that the issue is not Mexico. The issue is the government and people of Mexico. And that's a simple solution, really. We got 556 out the ass. You know, Russia's already filling mass graves in the Ukraine. Flat out. If I go operational in fucking Mexico against the Chinese, I'm setting up my own fucking state. And I know all of that sounds crazy to you. I'm sure it does. We live in a crazy world, you know, and most people have shit to live for, basically. Not having anything to live for gives me a certain freedom in a lot of this that I think most people will never have. And I really look at what's going on as the death of the United States. I really think if I can't pack it in my fucking van and drive it across the Mexican border, it's probably not worth shit. And it's basically because of what I'm seeing here locally. I went to Academy the other day, and it was me and two dudes buying 9mm and 400 Mexicans buying shoes. I don't mean to alarm you or whatever, but the only reason Mexicans would stop and buy shoes in an Academy in numbers like that is because they just got here from fucking Mexico. And that's the kind of shit that, like, if I were wanting to fucking cause problems here, that's how I would infiltrate my people. We are infiltrated so bad that I think the only logical option at this point is probably to invade Mexico, form our own state, and then fight whatever's here. Either that or Texas seceding. Like, if Texas would fucking grow some balls and secede, I'd go to Texas. And my thing is, I don't seem that useful until Texas needs a CIA, basically. Then I get real useful. That's my plan basically for the end of the world now. Is eventually Texas and Oklahoma are probably not going to be a part of the United States anymore. And eventually they're going to need spooky, spooky people to do spooky, spooky things on the Mexican border. That's what I'm hoping for. Come on, Texas. You can pay me. Oh, it's going to come to that. That's where this world's headed. It's fucking insane that I'm watching basically the breakup of the United States and nobody's talking about it. Florida and Texas are now engaging in warfare of a sort with California and New York and Massachusetts. We're shipping bus loads of fucking migrants. That's fun. Other option for moon tigers go 6'5" Grendel, but I think that's what causes a supply issue. It would be badass. It's one of those things that like I wish 6'5" Grendel was the army issue round or something like that. Like I wish it was much more available. I use the ammunition that I use because it's issued, basically. If it's issued, that means that there's significant price breaks and advantages in finding it places and that kind of a thing. So for me, for calibers, I like 12 gauge, 308, 5.56, 22, 9 mil, maybe 45 ACP if you have to have a 1911. That's about it. Now, I would be interested in something like a 4570 with like a hand loading kit. That would be pretty dope. But as far as like a thing that I'm not going to hand load myself, 5.56, 9 mil, 308, 12 gauge. One of those will get it done pretty much. I'm not going big game hunting really. I would like to have a big game rifle. And like this is the rifle I would like to get is a P17 Enfield 30-06. I always liked that gun. And it used to be really cheap. Then someone opened their mouth about it on the internet. Um, I don't know. But other than that, for a hunting rifle, I really kind of think 30-06 is about as big as I would ever need to go, though. And like, you could say, well, get a modern 30-06 bolt action. That's not a bad argument. If I was going to get a modern gun, though, I think I would get a modern caliber. My main thing for getting the 30-06 is basically I don't really plan on hunting that much. And if I do, I want to be nostalgic. Right now, if I went hunting, I think I would probably bring an AR-15, the black powder revolver. And I think that's not really a bad setup. Like if you get the shot with the black powder revolver, you have it. And you know, if you need food, the AR-15 provides you food. That's really what I'm building here too. Is like if this is my combat rifle, I want it to kind of be a survival rifle in a way as well, because like it might be the rifle that I have on me. So I don't know. Some of the choices I'm making, like the light front post ring combo thing, I don't really know about that. Like, I'm wanting to play with it, and I might hate it. And if I do hate it, I'm gonna have to spend a whole bunch of money because the alternative is a Surefire M600 Scout with a pressure pad, and that's like a $400 setup. I really don't want to do that. And I also really don't like my front sight that I have on this rifle. So Two birds, one stone. Oh. And I do kind of like having a fixed front sight with a red dot. I kind of like having a fixed front sight no matter what. That's one of the things that like is going to make this rifle more mine, other than completely replacing almost every internal component of it. Which, yeah, we're going to do that. The Bear Creek upper is so disappointing. The upper receiver itself and the rail are fine. The barrel, for all I know, is probably okay, but it's not anything I want in a barrel. It's a 16-inch M4 barrel, so I don't like it. And then the bolt carrier group, it looks cheap and chintzy, and then it has bad staking. I kind of want to stake it and see how it goes, but the other part of me says just to pitch it in the fucking trash by the way it looks. It is a functional AR-15 for now, though, which, that is the advantage of buying a Bear Creek and then slowly replacing parts on it, or buying a Palmetto State and slowly replacing parts on it, is you get a functional gun from the get-go. And, most of the whiz-bang parts or whatever, like, it's stuff that I want to pick out and add myself. Like, maybe you're the kind of person that's just going to spend $1,700 on Carl and Ian's What Would Stoner Do gun. If that's you, I can't help you. I will never be that person. I'm really glad they did that project, though, because it gets me the KE arms lower. And basically, I always loved the Cav arms lower, but the grip looked bad. And I put them on some of my guns despite that. And now they made one that has a grip that looks like a Magpul grip. So, fuck yeah. I wish they hadn't done the Magwell, but it is free. For some of the builds I would do with this, I would prefer it not to have a Magwell, basically. Like, I would like to do a 9mm carbine build with the SIG mags. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to do it on a fucking metal lower. Because their Magwell is going to make it look stupid. And this is why maybe make one without a fucking Magwell. I guess, like, from their point of view, everybody should want a Magwell. Whatever. The carbon fiber rail Carl and Ian did on their gun, I have a history with. I like the Troy Industries carbon fiber rail that they don't make anymore. It was a superior rail in every way. It was $300. They're charging $300 for that shit stick that they got. I don't like that at all because it doesn't have a top rail. And its attachment method to the AR-15 looks dubious at best. The Troy one, you can go look up. It was a Troy Alpha rail made of carbon fiber. I bought 2 of them at $300 a piece in, God, what was that, like 2015, 2016 money? I wish I had one of those back, but not bad enough to buy it back from my buddy Blazer. He has the first rifle I built with one of those. That is legitimately probably one of the best swords I ever made. That's how I look at building AR-15s, is I'm making swords. And the one that he's got has an LWRC Ultra Compact stock on it, a Spikes Joker lower from Pipe Hitters Union. I want to say a Spikes upper, and then a BCM barrel in it, 14.5 mid length, with a pin and welded Surefire flash hider on it. The gas block is a 6.25. It's a pencil barrel, and as I remember, it's titanium, I think, and it's got a pretty bitchin' gas tube on it too, like a melanited one or something like that. And then the bolt carrier group in it, I think was like Fail Zero or something like. It was something high end too. And the buffer was the LWRC shit. The trigger was an ALG ACT. I don't remember what grip I had on that gun. I think he's got a different grip on it now. But that had a Manta wrap on it that he pulled off. It still bears the marks in its paint job of having a Manta wrap on it. It kind of looks badass, I think. But that gun being a 14.5 inch with an ultra compact stock on it is a tiny little bitch. But yet it deploys out into a full size rifle. Basically, you don't lose anything with the LWRC ultra compact stock. It's a good way to go. I just happen to think that a fixed stock is better for a bunch of reasons. And the polymer lower shaves a whole bunch of weight off of the gun and does a bunch of other shit that I like. Basically, I'm more than happy to give up having a fucking adjustable tube to get the weight benefits of this thing and several of the other things. I quite like shooting a fixed stock M16. So I always liked the Cav Arms lowers because of that. And the fact that at gun shows in Oklahoma, they were like $75 because nobody wanted one. So I built up several Cav Arms guns, including the gun that I built up after that one that Blazer has. It had a carbon fiber rail on it too. Same one. It's a good rail. Like I liked it enough to buy it twice at $300. I'm not sure why Troy stopped making that rail. The rail that I've seen that I was interested in, other than that, was the Lancer rail, but I don't know if they still make that or not. Lancer made a carbon fiber rail. It was like $400 though. Welcome to Lancer. This is in short why my gun is probably just going to have an El Cheapo fucking aluminum rail on it. I've got this Bear Creek on there right now. I like the looks of it. I might just keep it. You know, it'll make this thing look a hell of a lot poorer. I don't know. I could get a Troy Alpha rail. Oh, but I don't really want to fucking spend that kind of money. That's kind of my thing in general. Is it seems to me that what would Stoner do gun? They spend an awful lot of money on shit that's inconsequential. They went at this thing from what is the best, and I'm going at it from okay, how do we get really, really good for no money or little money? It's a different kind of approach or whatever. Like it keeps you from doing shit like spending $300 on fucking carbon fiber float tubes. If you're gonna buy one of those KE Arms guns, I would get the Citizen Defense rifle. I think it's a better gun. If you're like me, I would just build one. You can get a stripped KE Arms lower for like $75 on Gunbroker. If you want the lower parts kit with it, I think it's like $150. Either way, I bought them with the lower parts kits in them. They put good parts in them other than the buffers. The buffers are kind of chintzy. But I would do that, and I would buy a Palmetto State upper. And I wouldn't get one with a rail. I would buy a Palmetto State upper with plastic handguards and then pick a rail that I wanted. But you could do whatever you wanted to do. But once you have a PSA upper, like that's a functional gun that will fucking work. And from there, spend as much money as you want fucking tricking it out. Like a PSA upper is $300. That's the same price as the carbon fiber float tube alone. Okay. So with that in mind, um, you get that PSA upper, you cut down its gas block into a fucking low profile one with a Dremel tool, which is not that hard to do if you've never done it before. It'll be a fun experience for you. Um, at the end of that, it all goes under a rail anyway, so it really doesn't fucking matter. Just don't cut through the gas tube and shit. Um, as far as a rail to use, I like Troy Industries rails. Uh, that's exactly what I would do if I was building a gun. Would be Palmetto State Armory upper, KE Arms lower, M-Lock Troy Alpha rail, and from there I might do a barrel swap and bolt carrier group and do kind of what I'm doing at this gun, where I'm going to replace the internals of it. But like that would be a as funds were needed kind of a thing. Because really, at the point that you have a PSA upper on one of these KE lowers with a Troy Alpha rail on it, you have a lot of good shit. Like the place that I would upgrade after that would be your barrel, because the Palmetto State barrel is probably on the cheaper side. And you could go with like a Faxon barrel and get a lighter barrel that's more accurate. I like Faxon barrels quite a bit. That's one of the things that Carl and Ian did, and that I really agreed with. Um, the rifle that I built after the BCM barreled one that Blazer has a Faxon barrel in it, and the one after that had a Faxon barrel in it, and the one after that had a Faxon barrel in it. Really, I was using Faxon barrels until I started cheaping out and just buying PSA uppers, because I just needed something to fucking get me through, basically. And that's kind of my thing, is like I'm used to having Vietnam era ARs. The Palmetto barrels and bolt carrier groups and shit. If you get the uppers that are just like a A3 upper, they are very much like a government issue, you know, 70s or 80s M16. I don't mind that. Maybe that's just me. That's kind of like my survival rifle or whatever. It is one of those. I don't see a reason to spend any more money on that. It does exactly what I need it to do. This thing is kind of becoming my pet project. Well, I hope someone has found this discussion useful in some sort of a way. Been a lot of what would Stoner do talk and a lot of AR-15 talk. I don't know which way I'm going to go on this thing yet. I'm going to be debating that for quite a while, probably. I'll try not to talk about that too much. Because really, like, the 20-inch barrel and no bayonet would save me a lot of money, because I'd want to buy a bayonet for this thing, and the bayonet lug is $150, and I would want to buy an aluminum rail to attach it to. That's like $20. So, at the end of it, it's like $250 probably to put a fucking pig sticker on the end of this gun. That really doesn't make that much sense to me. At the same time, though, I could get the bayonet lug and play with it and decide if I want to spend the other money. Would you buy a bayonet? I guess that's my question to you. 20-inch versus bayonet. Because I'm not going to do both. I'm going to do one or the other. It doesn't make sense to do both. If I could get a 20-inch barrel with an A2 front sight post on it, I would probably figure out a way to get it on this gun. Maybe I should look into that. Wonder if PSA sells a barrel. Or really, like, I keep thinking about, well, fuck it. I don't really like the upper on this thing that much either. I could just trash this whole thing. I could buy a whole new. This is basically what I'm talking about doing. I don't know. It seems silly to me to sell an upper just to buy an upper. Especially when I like this rail, and it's hard for me to find a rail that I like. And Bear Creek doesn't even make this rail anymore. All the ones they make now don't have a complete rail across the top. I don't know whose bright idea that is a good idea, but your AR-15 should have a rail from the front end to the back end on the top every time. If you're gonna, not have plastic handguards, you know, that would be my only exception to that. My other gun doesn't have a rail at all. So if you're going lightweight, maybe not. But like short of that, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Definitely ending this year now. I have to go to a birthday party. I'll see you guys later.